If you're not naturally flexible or literally made of rubber, traditional stretching can feel like a boring and sometimes frustrating part of your training arc, because the progress is so slow. What I mean by traditional is the passive kind of stretching where you sit in one position for a long time, just hoping that eventually your body will adapt. Luckily, there are better methods to improve your flexibility that give you much faster and longer lasting results, even if you haven't eaten a devil fruit. And that's what we are going to look at in this video. So we start with how flexibility actually works and why it might be your brain that limits your true range of motion. Then we are looking at the method to override these limitations. And lastly, we apply the method step by step to the middle split as our primary example, but you can use this method for every stretching exercise that you're interested in. But let's start out with the myth, because it's a wild-held belief that flexibility is a purely mechanical property of your body, meaning that the structure and length of the muscle determines how flexible you are. And that's not the complete truth, because flexibility is actually a neuromechanical property of your body. This means it's a combination of the mechanical property like muscle length, but then we also have the neurological property, and this is how much your central nervous system actually allows you to access your true range of motion. And the last part, the neurological part, is actually what limits most people in their flexibility. So why is our nervous system actually limiting us? So what's the benefit? And in simple terms, the reason is basically safety. The nervous system uses muscle tension as a protective mechanism. When a muscle is stretched too quickly or too far, your body activates something called a stretch reflex. And this reflex contracts your muscle again, which in turn prevents you from going deeper into the stretch, for example. And the main reason for that is that your muscles actually get weaker in an elongated state. And weaker muscles mean you have less stability and overall less control, meaning that you're at a much higher risk of injury, like muscle or tendon tears, and even joint damage. So your central nervous system is essentially limiting your flexibility to keep you safe. But luckily for us, this is also the part where we can make the fastest progress in a short time span. But how do we do that actually? Essentially, we have to signal our brain that we are safe in the end ranges of our flexibility. If we do that, our muscles can actually relax. And the best and safest method to achieve that is by building strength in our high end ranges. Because by building strength, we are essentially decreasing the risk of injury, and we signal to our nervous system, hey, I'm in this extreme position, I still have full control. As a consequence, your nervous system will relax and loosen up the muscle tension, allowing you to go deeper into a stretch, increasing your flexibility. And there are many ways how you could improve your strength, but for the method that I'm describing in this video, we're using isometrics. And if you're unfamiliar with isometrics, isometrics are just exercises where your muscles contract and create tension without changing length or moving a joint. And for example, with the middle split, an isometric would just be holding our body weight without the support of the arms by just tensioning our leg muscles. Or even simpler, if you use your arms as support, just tense your leg muscles by imagining that you push your legs into the ground. And we're using these types of exercises to improve our strength. So now we've mainly talked about the neurological aspect of flexibility, how strength will allow us to access a deeper range of motion. But strength training has also another benefit for us, but this is a long-term benefit, because as I previously mentioned, flexibility is a neuromechanical property. And after actively strengthening our muscles in the end ranges, our muscles will actually grow longer by adding new segments, and the connective tissue surrounding your muscles will also adapt, allowing you to increase the physical capacity to stretch and also the capacity of your muscle to gain strength at these increased lengths. These physical changes will take a longer time to achieve, but this active kind of mobility strength training is also the best way to achieve that, much better than just traditional passive stretching. And even though right now and in the introduction I said that passive holds that we are using in traditional stretching methods are not that useful, I want to be a bit more precise, because they are not that useful if we are only doing passive stretches. They can still play an important role in our training if we combine them with this active kind of strengthening, because what these passive holds do is they kind of desensitize our nervous system to the stretch stimulus. meaning that they will also result in our nervous system relaxing, allowing us to temporarily access a deeper range of motion. This is great for our flexibility strength training because now we can access these deeper ranges, and here we can practice our isometrics to increase our strength in the long run, which we couldn't without doing the passive stretching first. And over time, when we develop our strength in a full range of motion, it's also easier for us and much faster to access those deep ranges without having to do passive stretching before. But now we have seen the basics of flexibility, how flexibility actually works. So now we can talk about the method that we're using to improve our flexibility. Every kind of exercise that increases your strength in your full range of motion is going to improve your flexibility, and also improve your flexibility much faster than traditional stretching. So you can also come up with your own exercises, but I also prepared a simple protocol that we can follow that will use a combination of the passive stretching and active strengthening that you can apply to whatever flexibility exercise that you want. So in this protocol, we are starting out with a 2 minutes passive stretch or passive hold to temporarily increase the range of motion, as I described it earlier. And then we're going through cycles of holding isometrics and passively sinking deeper into the stretch. And by doing this several times over a training session, we're actively working at building our strength and getting long-lasting flexibility results. So let's apply this method to the middle split, but as I said, you can use this method for every flexibility exercise that you want. So we start with a 2 minutes passive middle split hold. So just go as deep as you can. It should feel a bit uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be painful. And just hold it here for 2 minutes straight. And after this, we begin with the cycle of isometrics and passive holds. And what we're going to do now is starting with the isometric. So imagine that you are pushing the legs into the ground as if you want to crush that ground. I would recommend to slowly ramp up the effort. So start with a bit of tension and then over some time go to your full effort. And this phase takes about 30 seconds. And after this, we're going to sink deeper into the passive stretch and hold it here for 30 seconds again. And you should already feel after one repetition of these two phases that you can go a bit deeper. And then we repeat this cycle for 1 to 3 times per session. You will probably notice that this kind of flexibility training will feel much harder than the traditional just sitting and stretching training. But the good thing is we're getting a lot of benefits out of that. We have to spend less time in our flexibility training to see better results. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Feels harder, but more results. Then I recommend doing this method for the stretches that you're interested in. I would say at least 3 times a week, and I'm pretty sure that you will see actually quite good results after some weeks. I hope this video was somewhat useful to you, and see you in the next one. Cheers!